So I'm going to show you how I make my compost, what sort of ingredients I put into it to help build healthier plants. So first of all, you obviously put the compost in. I add in some Epsom salt. Usually you might find that in the health and beauty section of your Asda, Wilkinson, or even in TK Maxx near the tills, where the cheapest is in Asda, which is £2.30, and £2.99 in most other places, which is the Westland brand. So with that, I'd add in some fish blood and bones. So I'd pour some of that in at the moment. So that's really going to be good for strong growth and healthy, rich foliage. It'll help flower and help with the fruiting of your plants as well. I'll also add in some Epsom salt, probably about 3 or 4 spoons of tablespoons of Epsom salt. That's really good for flower blooming, and obviously with chilies it's good for flowering, because each flower can potentially become a chili as well. So once you've done that, give that a really good mix from top to bottom. Make sure that you spread all those ingredients and food for plant food. Give it a good old mix, and that's it. The compost is ready. I also use bark. It's really good for the soil moisture. It suppresses the weeds. It's good for really hot weather, keeps the ground really moist and retains the water. It's also good for the cold weather as well. And what that does is basically stops the freezing and the cold, so it protects. It's a bit of an insulation as well in the colder weathers. So now that the mix is done and the preparation is done, I'm going to show you how I use this on my chilies. So today I'm going to show you on this particular chili plant. You can see that it's starting to dry out over here. So I've got my mix there. I've already got the bark, so you just start to remove the bark. When you remove some of the bark, you will see some of the roots starting to come through. So I'm just going to mix the old with the new in terms of the bark, just creating some space for some fresh soil to go in, as you can see here. You can see here that there's some roots there. The main thing around any sort of plant, you need to make sure that you have some good airflow, the sunlight is getting to the root. So you just take away some of the leaves from the bottom, obviously not taking away the fruit, although it's not a big deal if you have, more will grow. So you've got to be quite ruthless with it. And as soon as you start doing that from the top and the bottom, it starts shooting out from the sides. So what I'm doing here is just removing some of the leaves, some of the bigger leaves, so it doesn't create too much shade, and some of the older leaves is what I'm starting to remove. If I get some scissors, it might be a bit easier. Especially near the middle and the bottom sections, I'm starting to clear through. There you go. Yeah, that should be enough. And you can see down here there's a lot of, you can see the roots around here start to come out. So as the plants get a bit bigger, you can see the roots starting to open up a bit. So normally chilies, you probably need a slightly bigger pot than this because they do grow quite big. And with the mixture of compost that I've already given, I'll put it in here, and then I'll start patting it down and start building up just around the actual main stem. And there you have it, and you just pat it down. There you have it. Okay, so that's done. I'll then mix the old with the new of the bark, and just add that in, just to make sure the moisture stays in. And it drains, it's really good for drainage as well. Ideally, if I was to do this again, I'd use this thing called perlite. It's like small foam balls. That's really good actually when you're doing the planting. Really good, and you'd use something like you can use Q4. It's very good for when you're transplanting. It's very good for root growth. You can use that along with Perlite. Both of them are available in Wilkinson. The Perlite, it looks like small foam balls. Very good for drainage, and the root growth for the Q4 also really helps with a shock when you're transplanting it. Right, so just one other thing that I want to mention to you, that is how to pollinate your chili plants. It's exactly the same as tomatoes. There is no male and female. Well, if anything, they're all female flowers. So you can actually self-pollinate these, just like your tomatoes. I think what you'll find when you shake the leaves, the pollen falls out, the leaf dries out, and then that becomes the fruit. So you've got to help it along. So one of the methods that I've used after doing a bit of research is I've used an electric toothbrush. So here's one that I've got here. If I was to turn it on, you turn that on and it vibrates just like a bee, and just at the top of it you just vibrate it. The pollen will fall out after a few days, the leaves will start to die out, and then suddenly you'll start to see lots of chilies growing in that section. Now, because you are cutting and pruning some of these, you might think, oh, nothing is growing, but rest assured, if you have a bit of patience, you will see that plenty of chilies will actually grow. So don't be scared to do the cutting. You know, they will come good, and you will get lots of fruits at the end of it. So just because some of your friends are having more chilies than you, I would not be afraid of that. You know, you will definitely get some reward at the end of it, and if anything you'll get more because you've actually pruned it and you have self-pollinated it. Same method exactly for the tomatoes as well. So what we've done here, we have given it some airflow, we've given it some area for the sunlight to get into this area here. There's a bit of gap here for the airflow to go in, so there's a bit of space, and also where there's flowers we are also self-pollinating those as well. And you will see after a few weeks plenty of chilies will be grown. There's about 30 chilies on this particular plant. I've just finished pruning and putting the compost in. I think one of the things that I should mention to you, I feed the chilies with the Miracle Grow all-purpose soluble plant food. I use that probably every 3 to 4 days. Obviously you've got to look at the leaves, and if the leaves are starting to dry out a little bit, then you need to ease off. But that certainly helps flower better than the tomato in my view. And I add some Epsom salt with that as well in the can when I add the feed. I hope it's been useful for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Bye.